Okay, thanks everyone for being here this early in Saturday. So I'm really happy to see so many young faces. I'm also very happy because we have a fantastic panel this morning with the most beautiful Julia here. Benoit, of course, who is like a legend in this, and the obvious guys who are also obviously a legend. So we have just 30 minutes. So I'm going to try to be very efficient in this. I'm going to present you our speakers, and after this, we are going to start directly with the questions. So Giulia is a proud Italian, I understand. So she's been 16 years in the art market, mainly in the contemporary art field. She started in Milan, then moved to London, and couldn't decide if she liked Paris or London best. So she worked mainly in auction houses and then in the studio of Damien Hirst, right? And then she also got involved in something called New Art Academy, and CADAF, which is an art fair for crypto art or for NFTs. So that's why she's most relevant today. Now she works at Sotheby's Paris in the contemporary art field, and she also helps Sotheby's develop also his metaverse and some project with this. Is that correct? Good. Benoit is, I mean, he's a tax lawyer, so that's not the most fun, but you know, his tax lawyer activity led him to investigate the cryptocurrency at some point because there was no legal environment around that, and he was in charge of trying to figure out this thing. And instead of finding some really interesting new laws to that, he got into the guy from Ethereum, and from that he got passionate about this and the artists who play with this. And he started buying some real estate in the metaverse. And with this, he found out that his neighbors were actually artists. And he said, like, okay, let me help them. So not only he buys and he bought a lot of art, he has a collection of few hundreds works of NFT art, but also he built them a museum. So he now owns and runs the MoCA, the Museum of Crypto Art. And he's one of the strongest advocates of NFT art in France and above that. So we are very happy to have him. And we have the three guys from Obvious. So we have Gauthier, Pierre, and Hugo, which is a fun, I mean, it's a nice story. These are three buddies who started, you know, they just wanted to get, to have some creative project together. And in 2017, they decided what they wanted to do is generative art. So basically, they use algorithm as a tool for creating art, but they are the one creating art, not the tool. But they use this tool, and they got famous because just less than a year after building their thing, they sold a work of art for $500,000, which is a nice way to start a career as an artist. And they didn't stop there, so they continue to explore all of this. And yeah, and they are with us today, and they are, famous NFT artists are a very rare thing, and they are both famous, but they also have a strong opinion about art and what should be relevant as an art on the NFT space. Is that okay for you as a presentation? So. Yep. We already spent like 4 minutes on that, so now let's go into the question directly. I will start with Giulia because she is the most beautiful. Can we all agree into one fact, is that today, and I hope this can change, but today there is a strong difference between the world of art as traditional art, let's say, and the world of NFT art. I mean, the artists are different, the collectors are different, the platforms are different. Basically, it's two different markets. Giulia, you worked into auction houses, so you know what a traditional collector is. You got involved into all these new projects. You know what a NFT collector is. What is an NFT collector? How do you describe that? What is their social, I mean, what do they look like?
All right, thank you for the introduction, first of all. I don't know if there is a type of NFT collector. To be honest, NFT collectors could be anyone from a teenager to a 60-year-old person. And that is also, as a general comment, the beauty of art. Anyone can actually be physical art. Perhaps, there has always been a little bit of a barrier to end physical art. Perhaps, there has always been a little bit of a barrier to entry, which is probably kind of the cost, exactly, the cost, the money, but also, the means. So where do I go and buy art? It's a gallery or it's an auction house in the secondary market. And I think digital art and NFTs have eliminated kind of that barrier. And I think this is also what is fascinating now to see. And as you said, I've always worked, albeit for a small period of time, where I work at Damien Hirst Studio, mostly sort of in the secondary market. So I've seen, the challenges for...
Believed in crypto, because in order to mint a piece at that time in 2018, you needed to be involved in crypto, you needed to know about the technology. And most of them, or maybe all of them, they were convinced by this technology and by the ideas that are behind. And you can see more or less clearly in their artwork, you can feel that, and this for me defines what I call crypto art. It's an idea, there's a message behind it. Of course, there are aesthetics, there are techniques, but there are also thematics and ideas, and you can feel them more or less, And I think this is what defines what I call crypto artists compared to digital artists more globally, because now you have a lot of very famous digital artists who join the scene, all right? But they don't have this background. They use NFTs because it's a new way to get on the market, and to be viewed, but they don't have this culture, right? Crypto culture. And I think art and crypto art is a very good way to in a way, explain and promote the crypto culture, what I call crypto culture.
Okay. So, still for Benoit, so what do you feel about traditional artists, or let's say, artists that didn't have this culture getting into NFTs? I mean, do you feel like they can find a new audience there? Do you feel they are relevant to speak about here, or to speak there? What is your feeling about this?
Of course, I mean, any artist is relevant to the space and will help, grow the space. I think it's very good. But I think we need, and this is what I do with Mocha, I try to define crypto art as a movement, right? And which is something within the NFT and within the digital art, but it's something special. But of course, I don't discard at all any artist, and I do collect artists that are not really into this movement. But I try to focus on the energy that was at the beginning and trying to define a movement, a real art movement, that is crypto art. And there are many aspects of what happened that lead to think that this is a movement, the community aspect, in the history of art, art movements, they started always with a community, a small community helping each other. This is exactly what happened. But, I like the title, Art Beyond the Hype. I don't know if we're going to talk about that, because I don't think it's art and hype. Not sure it's a good match,
It's kind of my next question, still for you. Benoit, so I know you have a strong feeling. I mean, NFT is not only about art, and in NFT art, we can, the thing is very large, and there is something that you consider to be real art, and things that you would say that NFT art, but more collectible. But it's very difficult and, almost ethically difficult to draw the line somewhere. How do you, what is your opinion, and where do you draw from that?
First thing, I want to be very clear. It is good that what's happening today with NFT, it is good that it raises the question of what is art. This is very good, okay? Whatever your position is, it's good to discuss this for art globally. So this is very positive. Now, when you look at NFTs, it's clear that there's a very wide spectrum of different things. On one end, you have artists, in a way we know them, artists, they work alone or in small groups like you, and they are trying to express something with their feelings. They see things, they express things, they want to put out a message. And on the other end of the scope, you have studios who are creating series that have an artistic component, but that are designed to match the need of a market, all right? And where do you set the line here? Some will say everything is art because there is an artistic component even in the one end of the scope. And some will say, no, I think, when there are teams of people who are trying to guess what is the need of a market and create a product for this to meet this demand, maybe it's not art. So I have a position, but I could agree that it's different from others. And most important message for me is artists, they just cannot compete with teams of marketing people, right? And they don't want to compete with them. The artistic process is not designed to meet a need. An artist is trying to express something, and maybe sometimes there will be a connection with the one who sees the art. But you cannot. Being an artist is not trying to guess what is the need of a market, right? And everyone is competing now to be on the top of the feed on Twitter. I guess if everyone here is they are on Twitter, and they are looking at the Twitter feed. But is it really important for an artist to be on the top of the Twitter feed? Or is it maybe more important to build a legacy and to have people look at their artwork that are not for sale, older artwork? I mean, you guys, everyone here, when is the last time you saw a tweet about an artwork that is not for sale? All the tweets we see are artworks for sale. That's it. And who does tweets about artworks that are not for sale and artworks that are important for the history, that means something, that build something? There are very few actors who promote art looking back and not just promoting things for sale.
Yeah.
Just very quickly, I think what you said about Twitter and being at the top, but isn't it also for all artists out there, it's all about visibility. How can you be seen, right? And now with, a lot of marketplaces, they've started this idea of curation, perhaps. They do curated drops or curated artists, etc. Because that's also about, obviously, it's not just about financial gain. I think it's also about your art and, getting visibility for what you do.
Maybe we should ask the artist.
Exactly.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for the invitation here and for the nice introduction. So I would say on our side, we do strongly agree with Benoit here because we actually were on Super Rare back in April 2018. So the idea is that on Super Rare at that time, there was all of these artists like Xcopy, Aketao, Coldy, Max Osiris, Rob Ness. Lots of these artists were questioning the crypto culture and trying to question also like the propriety, like how do you own something and what is art actually. And so I guess we do agree on the fact that it's important to have people in the NFT space more generally that try to talk about this legacy and try to describe it as an art movement because we do think it's the most important thing in the NFT space in terms of art. And so in France we do have Benoit here, so that's nice to have a protagonist that tries to tell this story, but there are several other people that also try to talk about the art and not only the fact that it's for sale, like I would say Art Gnome, for instance, is one of the person that really try to promote all the sub-genres of crypto art. And so on our side, we've been experimenting with AI algorithms, and for us, the NFT space was really relevant to have those artistical experiments. And so it was a very nice space for us to interact with other artists and collectors that are actually interested in whether that could be the tool that we use or the message that we try to have. And then it's really nice to now have a much wider NFT space. I guess all of these approaches can coexist, and there's no problem with that. We just have to take a moment to tell the story of crypto art.
And we feel that this movement and this kind of opinion are growing. We can see a lot of similarities between the traditional world and the new art NFT world. You can see those curational movement that you can really observe that there is people who tend to being creators in the real world who wants to jump in the NFT world and being creators. You have those institutions also, like we worked with Kamel Menor, which is a really traditional guy from the artist, from the art world, who wants to jump in that world, not for the money, but just for the artistic reason and the philosophical reason and the futuristic reason. So as artists who are fits in the two worlds, this is really interesting to see how the NFT worlds are taking what's best from the art world and trying to recreate such mechanism.
Okay, pushing on this, do you feel like, you know, as you say, there is this starting to collide somewhere? Do you feel like at some point they could merge? Like, you know, we discussed the idea that street art at some point merge into what is considered real art. Do you feel like NFT, as the same way, can at some point merge into the art as well?
I think we're already seeing that happening with you have, like, for example, a lot of collectors who normally collect traditional art, and they are getting like really interested in NFTs. You have some institutions, for example, Sotheby's, who is also jumping in this world and getting interested in it. So we know that it's a market that the traditional artwork can't ignore. So they have to see that some people are like very interested in this type of art. So they have to participate in it. And now it's just a question of will this new market let them in, you know? And I think it is, and they're also like craving for some great actors who have like a huge history and a lot of knowledge to share to come to this new market. So yeah, I believe like the two markets are not merging, but they are exchanging a lot, and it's a good thing.
Continuing on this, as Pierre said, you're collaborating with Kamel Menor, but he's one of the there's not so many galleries that, you know, took this step of inviting artists from the NFT world. As you said, this curiosity, maybe also it's some FOMO, the fear of, you know, being, you know, left behind on this. Why do you feel like other galleries are still reluctant? We'll talk about auction house after this, but galleries are very important. I mean, they used to be very important for traditional artists in the sense that they were them marketing and making the career.
So Rome wasn't built in 2 years, you know what I mean? So they are interested about that, and they are getting more and more into those reflections. I mean, if you are a proper gallerist who sold Anish Kapoor stuff, art, you're not interested about only the money. You're interested about the philosophical aspects, and it takes time to embrace it properly. So it's normal that it takes time. I like to do the comparison with the arrival of street art, you know, because you can ask yourself, why does this numerical art is not that relevant for the past 20 years, and because you have computers basically everywhere, and this numerical art and digital art was not that sexy. And you can see that it's sexy now. People are getting very interested about that. So, but you are still at the very, very beginning of a new art movement, and it takes time.
You're right.
If I can add something, I would say that what we discussed, what Benoit discussed about the crypto culture and all the artistic aspect of crypto art at the beginning, maybe the traditional galleries don't have the knowledge of this, and I guess they would be much more interested in NFTs and crypto art if they would happen to know about this. And because it's strictly art, I guess they would be very, very interesting because they are passionate about art, and so that's what they do every day, and they as Pierre said, they don't try to just have a business that works, but they are really into the art scene. And if they have the chance to hear about this artistic movement, I guess they would be much more interested, and we would see more and more galleries and museums interested in telling this story, because that's what they do. They try to tell an artistic story and to explain what was going on in the mind of the artist at the moment of the creation.
Yeah, and also there's probably also some kind of a culture that is different and needs some time to adapt.
Yeah, it needs a lot of time, because they don't even know what
the heck it
crypto
is.
So knowing about crypto culture is a step further.
The deepness of this is incredible. I mean, the crypto art was born in modern history of crypto art is in 18, but it comes from 14. But the roots of this goes way before. It's from for instance, the cypherpunks in the 90s. In the 90s, these are the roots of what's happening today in art, in crypto art. So this is not something that just happened like that. There are very deep roots.
Julia, we need to talk a little bit of auction houses, I guess. So auction houses got involved, I would say, not last year, but it became big last year. And somehow I have the feeling that they generated the interest in the general public because of the result of that, because of the interest that generated, because of the money also. What are the projects that they are working on today? Can they go much beyond that? What else can they do to support the ecosystem?
The sky's the limit. No, so one thing, so money aside, and I just kind of want to tag onto what's been said about the arts, the traditional art and the digital art sort of merging, and with collectors. And I think we have to remember that, at the core, even for auction houses, is, supporting the market, and therefore indirectly supporting the artists. Obviously, auction houses historically have all been, mostly operated in the secondary market, so the resale. With entering the NFT world, it's often the primary market. It comes from the artist, and it's sold at auction house. Christie's,
you did once with
Sotheby's.
Sotheby's and Damien Hirst, 2008.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So this is what I said. Mostly secondary market, not always with Banksy as well now. But in any case, I think this is what, it's an historical moment. This is what is also fascinating for me. I've worked most in the secondary market is, first of all, the blending now of the roles, so between primary and secondary market. And then auction houses allowing traditional client to actually step into and discover, a new type of art, and vice versa, because there could be actually buyers traditionally buying crypto online that might be curious or fascinated of buying at an auction house, and then why not? They might move on and buy physical work. I think we have to, I don't know, since I've discovered as well the world of digital art, there's always a bit of a split between traditional art and digital art, but it's art. So I think we have to eliminate that. In terms of projects, now we have a few coming up. So stay tuned. But I think we will continue to evolve. I obviously work at Sotheby's in France, so I think for us, the key will also be to be at the forefront of development of the market in France of NFT. So, so we have a lot of projects, yes, towards that, I think, and it's still, we're working on it. It's not possible to sell NFTs in an auction house in France. But
back in the days, auctioneers were considered as the traditional guys that you cannot reach. You know what I mean? If you ask us, like 5 years ago, the relationship you have with a traditional auction house as an artist is zero. And you can see now that the two big auction houses are the one pushing further. And that's really interesting in terms of who are the people in charge of this market. And that's really cool because you can see that technology is driving their new ideas and their future, and this is that as an artist working with technology is really, really cool to observe.
Agree. And it's cool for us working in it to actually see and be part of this.
Yeah,
yes.
and we were really happy to see that instead of contrary to what the galleries and the institution might do, the auction houses really do get interested in the actual artistic movement. So, for instance,
and it's more money for the artist as well.
Yeah, as well. So, for instance, there was like the Art and Tech Summit of Christie's in 2018. So, back in those days, there were already interest of auction house in this type of art. So, they are really leading the way to have this gate through the.
I know, Benoit, that you have a
art.
strong opinion about auction housing and their value added for the.
No, I mean, there's a challenge for auction houses, clearly, because, you know, even for significant artworks, you can sell them or put them in auction with a tweet and sell them within a day or so, and be as much as efficient as the whole experience of major auction house. So, I mean, the auction house needs to find a way to prove value added in this market. There is a value added. There is validation, obviously, right? But they need to prove the value added. And the relationship between artists and actors of the art completely changed with NFTs. Okay. The table was turned, and now the artists somehow they have the upper hand for now. Maybe it will not last, but for now they have the upper hand, and they want to fight to keep the upper hand. So they want to have an arm's length discussion with the art actors, right? So this is my point, and just to mention that in France, currently today, this week, next week, last week, there was heavy discussions around auction houses and how they can enter this market. And I know
they're not allowed right now.
Yes. No, but there's a report that was just released yesterday, and there are some auction houses, I think about Fauve Paris, who are really active in this. So it will change very quickly, I guess.
So I had like 25 more questions, but we have 32 seconds. I want to ask one last question to the artists because I think we need to finish on that. I mean, you as artists, and you are between the NFT world and, you know, sometimes the material world. How do you decide what is relevant for crypto art or NFT, and what is relevant for a physical piece?
I guess it's part of the audience that you have for your art. So we do know that the type of people that follow our work or try to discuss our work in the crypto art or NFT scene is pretty different from the type of people that follow art in the traditional way, when we create physical pieces. And so we do have this type of pedagogical approach to it, because what we do is really techy and so really hard to explain. So we try to make it pretty obvious to people, and so we try to adapt also our art and our message to the type of people that are going to encounter it and discuss it.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Gauthier. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, Benoit.